welcome everybody. Let's talk real estate. Your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current commercial real estate market here in Southern California. As we take a no BS look at both sides of the issues driving this market today to find the best solutions going forward. With our man right in the middle, Barry Saywitz. Hey, Barry.
Hey, good morning, Paul, and good morning to all of our viewers and our listeners out there. Welcome back. If it's Tuesday, which as far as I know it is, we are talking real estate. I am Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company and managing partner of Saywitz Properties. And if it's one thing I've learned in my 30-plus years of doing this, it's to surround yourself with good people, get good information, make good decisions. And I'm hoping today we're going to be able to provide you with some additional information where you can go out there and use that in your everyday life. And so I'm excited about today's show for a number of reasons. Before we get going, I do want to do a shout out in light of the world events and everything going on around us. And our prayers and our hopes are with the Israeli population, with the innocent Palestinian population, and we all hope that justice comes to those that bring terror to the world. And so all the best to everyone out there. Now, with that said, on a lighter note, I do want to welcome our guest, Barak Zilberberg, who is the founder of the Zilberberg Foundation, a real estate investor, entrepreneur, and on top of all of that, candidate for President of the United States of America. Barak, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you, Barry. It's a pleasure, it's an honor, and I'm looking forward for this wonderful discussion moving forward.
Yeah, so I'm glad you could make it.
Yeah.
And I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, and I don't think there could be a more important time in the past several years for you to come on the show. And
This is
so I appreciate
very critical. We're in a very, very critical time now, and this point in time in our presence in this world. We have a war currently, Ukraine and Russia, and now we have a war in Middle East, which is in Israel, the state of Israel. We're in a turmoil. That's where we are now, and I believe we have to wipe out all of the terrorist organizations out there, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah or any of those terrorist organizations. Just wipe them out completely. All right, join the Gazan people, Palestinian people with the Israeli people in peace and harmony, flourish economic growth within Gaza. So people are flourishing, their children. We're educating the children of how to work hard, how to earn money, how to save money, how to invest money. I'm thinking in Gaza also to build resort hotels, just like in Las Vegas and Macau. And then we would have the same type of pacts that we have here in the United States with the American Indians. So we have pacts with Israel, state of Israel, would have pacts and agreements with the Palestinian people that they will not be taxed on the revenue gains that they have from their casinos and the gambling and all that's in presence there, as to replenishing and infiltrating the money into the children's education, into growth and prosperity and development. So why shoot a missile when you could actually, and you're talking millions of dollars with missiles going out? Why not put it in our educational system for our children, no matter what race, color, religion? It's all irrelevant. We all should have the power of knowledge. Power of knowledge is crucial. And it starts from our children, that's where it is.
Right, and that's the issue, I think, at least from what I've heard, is you have more than 50% of the population there in Gaza that are minors, and they're taught from an early age, many of them, to hate Jews and to hate the West and to cause turmoil. And so you need a cultural change if that's even possible, but certainly at the forefront of everything that's going on, you have to purge the bad people, right? And I'm right there with you that I think Israel needs to act swiftly and strongly and get rid of the bad people, and then you can move forward and try and rebuild and try and make peace and have everybody get along.
Yeah, because you have to understand, you have Hamas within these innocent people. The Palestinians are totally innocent, and they're great people. I love Palestinian people. I love the Israeli people. Wonderful people. It's just basically, the Hamas, are territorial, and if they don't agree to their positions and their stances, guess what? They'll point at one of their children's head and behead them if they don't observe their orders. Period. So they're afraid. They're vulnerable. They're innocent people. It's just the Hamas, the terrorist organization, is what's stirring stuff up amongst the Jews and the Palestinians.
Well, and now you have it escalating really to a worldwide conversation, because you have countries sort of picking a side, and you have players like Venezuela and China and Iran and Lebanon taking the side of the Palestinians, and then you have other countries like the United States and France and England taking the side of the Israelis, and now you're really poising yourself for polarity, which is not really the goal here. The goal is to get peace, and I'm not sure you can get peace without having some destruction, at least before then. And then I guess we'll see what happens in the coming days. Biden is on his way over there. We'll see what he does. And so before we get to the presidential stuff, because I could go with you all day on that stuff, I want to back up a little bit.
Sure.
And let's just talk about your history, because you are here in the United States, immigrant family from Poland originally, correct?
Yeah, no, my father, he was born in Poland, but they're migrants of Israel, state of Israel.
Great.
Yeah, both my mother and father.
And so you grew up here in Southern California and got into business at a very early age.
Yes.
And then parlayed your experience in business into a real estate investment business and portfolio. And then ultimately relocated to the Las Vegas area. And so I guess to talk about how you got into business at such an early age, why and how, and what was the draw?
Well, I was always independent. Since age 6, I was walking to school by myself, to and from. I had a key, walk in the door. Mom was working, Dad was working. When there was food available, I made myself food. I did my homework till my parents came back home. Always very, very independent. And then that ideology, went along my youth years, and I went to work with my father. I saw what he was doing, and taught me, the intricacies of hard work. At age 13, I was bar mitzvahed, and you're considered a man. Of course. Age 13. So he's saying, guess what? I am not supporting you, and you're supporting yourself, and you go ahead and make your own money and pay for your own expenditures and your own wants and needs. And that's what I did. I listened to him. I said, I am not going to wait for him or nobody. And I was always, I was always a leader whenever I did. And I never was pushed around or bullied, or any of that. And if I was, then I would go ahead and defend myself, and make sure that I'm in defense,
But in terms of the business side of things, I mean, you get involved at an early age, you're independent, and then at age 21, if I'm quoting it correct, you get into business.
Well, I went in at age 21 into business, and then I started in plumbing as a blue-collar worker. And I started at age 18 working for someone. Then 21, I went on my own, and I was just very good at what I was doing, with my hands. I'm very handy as well, and I used that vehicle as a business. Went into a specialty of repiping, and I was quarterly in the sales as well, alongside with my knowledge in the particular subject. And out of that, I created a huge business.
And then you ultimately got out of that business. And so what was the draw then from that into real estate? Obviously, plumbing, you're in the buildings, you're doing work, you're seeing how people are remodeling and fixing things up.
Yeah.
What was the draw to get into owning the real estate?
Well, I'm figuring, I have my money work for me. I always work for the money. You have to put your time in order to make money if you don't have money. And by putting your time and utilizing your time and expertise, you go ahead and make as much money as you can and save as much money as you can. And with saving, then you have to have that money working for you. So what's a better place than real estate? There's no better place. You're going to put it in the bank, you won't get anything. As far as interest goes, you're behind the eight ball, with inflation and everything. So the best asset is real estate. Everybody needs a place to live, everybody needs a place to work out there. And guess what? You have to be in a structure, in a building, in a place.
Yeah, no, you're a man after my own heart. That's why I did it as well. Somebody once told me early on, there's vertical money and there's horizontal money. Vertical money is you have to get up in the morning and you have to go to work and you have to be upright to make the money, whether it's with your hands or your mind or both. And horizontal money is you can make money while you're sleeping.
That's right.
Real estate gives you the capacity to do that. And when I talk to young people within our firm, or I talk to young people that I come across, that's the point to try and get across, is that you want to be smart, right?
That's right.
You'd like to be smarter than the average bear, if you will.
That's right. You want to be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
You don't want to fall behind. And you always have to keep up in the times of what's happening. You always have to be inclusive of that, so you're not lost.
So today you have real estate properties in Southern California. Your home is in Las Vegas. You have properties there. And then you decide a couple of years ago to run for governor of Nevada.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I would like to bring the ideologies of the entrepreneurial backgrounds and experience that I have and run the state as a business, run the country as a business. Looking at numbers. Numbers never lie, and the equivalency of numbers and how you allocate it and how you diversify the numbers are very important. That's money. And I believe the way our political system is structured, we're in debt and we're continuing going into debt. I believe we're sending a lot of money that is useless and has no sort of purpose whatsoever. We're sending billions. I mean, we have to be involved in foreign affairs and what have you, but where you're sending money, where is the money? Where is it getting utilized?
Right, where's the checks and balances of how you took my money and how you did something good with it?
Right, exactly. So if you're sending money, you want to make sure that money, first off, is secured, and then it will flourish into something that'll be great for communities, for people, for an outreach of millions of people. If you're sending that kind of money,
Well, and as a businessman myself, look, my preference is to have somebody run the country or the state as a business. And while it is political, and you need to keep that in mind, it's still a business at the end of the day.
That's
California is the fifth largest economy in the world, and it's like running a major country. And when you don't run it as a business, then you start to have all kinds of other issues.
Right. And it's definitely not to be ran for the people's votes, just let's take for an example, you're in California, the governor went ahead and during all this pandemic that incurred, you're a landlord, I'm a landlord, we had to facilitate and house the people on behalf of the government.
Yeah.
How does he have, or any of the officials in California that are in place have the right to stance the landlords and housing the people on their behalf and their decisions? It's wrong, know.
And there's a lot of percentage. I believe there's a large percentage of people and companies and individuals who took advantage of that policy.
Absolutely.
And we're not. Look, I'm all for helping people that are struggling. I'm all for keeping people in their homes as opposed to being on the street. But when you enable people to take advantage of their landlord, take advantage of the system, and you've given them a way to be able to do that, and then they tell their friends and their family, and then that becomes a thing.
Yeah, and it really is. It's something that doesn't belong to the individual, and I think it's wrong, and it's a wrong sort of stance and position to infer those type of things.
And in Nevada, when you were running, different set of circumstances in Nevada, a lot of the similarities in terms of just exponential growth of that state, real estate a big component there, housing a big issue in Nevada.
Yes.
What did you learn from that experience that you now take to the next level?
Yeah, well, I traveled throughout the state and every city throughout the state. It was just very interesting, met tons of people, great people, and listening is an art. You know, you must listen to people and learn and to understand what their needs, what their wants are, what they're looking as far as a leader, and how to lead the state, how to lead the country. So that anatomy of me doing what I've done taught me so much. And I'm just simply the voice of the people. They reiterate what they want. It comes out for all of you out there, and I love you all.
And so the things that people were telling you that they wanted to hear was they want a leader, they want somebody to lead, right?
Yes.
I mean, look, I would characterize myself as a leader as well, but I'm happy to follow if someone else is leading, right? My
Right.
concern is when no one's leading, then either I got
Right.
to do it myself or I have a tough time following.
That's right. And you have to, when you lead, you have to show strength
Yes,
as well.
I agree.
You know, I mean, you can't show weakness. And if you say something, then you really have to stand on what you said, you know? You can't back down.
Right.
So it's very important as to what you converse and what you relay out there to the public, and what you voice out there. You know, you must really scale it, put it on a scale, you know, take some time and think as to what you're saying out there, because people, millions of people, you know, listen in.
Yeah.
So it's very important as to what you say, what you portray out there in the public. And I, as a businessman, as anything that you may see in me as an individual, is I always portray good energy and good vibes. You know, that's number one. You know, I portray that just off the bat. And it starts off very well, you know, respecting people, loving each and every person, looking in the eye of a soul of every person, you know, and not what's outside, but actually what's inside, you know, and judging a person by a person themselves, you know, and everything else is irrelevant. And we're all a melting pot here in the United States, whereas, of course, we have all ethnicities, diversities, mankind, and we must show an example here in the United States of equality, and we as one, brothers and sisters.
Yeah. No, I agree. And so how does that then play into your platform and your position on the major issues that are, you know, today? I mean, the presidential election, while it's still a ways off, I mean, to me, it is fully heating up. And with what's going on in the world events, I mean, foreign policy, big issue clearly coming up and at the moment. On top of the fact that I believe the economy is still sputtering along and the Fed hasn't solved the inflation scenario. You have high interest rates, which then precludes people from home ownership and causes strain on commercial real estate and lending. There's a lot of things going on. I don't want to sound like negative Nancy, but there's a lot of issues out there.
That's right. And the problem, let's talk about the economy. Economically, we're reliant on the rest of the world. We're not reliant on ourselves as a country. Now, why are we buying oil over in other countries?
Right.
We have plenty of oil here.
Right.
Why don't we resource whatever our goods are and what our sources are? Why don't we enjoy these type of things?
Yeah.
You know, why don't we manufacture our goods here? Why do we need other countries manufacturing goods? Why can't we put our people to work? The American families, American people here, put them to work. Why are we putting other now? If we're trading, I believe it should be of equal value that each country trades with us, and we trade equal value to them, a dollar for a dollar. You know, you're keeping your people busy, we're keeping our people busy. It's all beautiful. And then 90% of our pharmaceuticals is coming from China, and we're reliant on China. You know, they cut our supply. What do? You know, so yeah.
So the oil's coming from the Middle East. The pharmaceuticals are coming from China.
Yeah.
And we're not making nearly what we should be here.
Right. And then the immigration policies here, they're no
It's
good.
terrible.
Yeah. The way I would reform the immigration policy, and actually we have to secure our borders. That's the fact. I mean,
Agreed.
you reside in a home or wherever in the premises you are, it's you have a fence, you have a gate, you have a barrier. You can't have everybody coming in. Now, if they want to come in, yeah, we are a country of migrants,
There's a
and,
process.
that's right. There's a process, and there'll be a very inviting process as well. So we could ascertain only the good people from all over the world into our country that are willing to work, and achieve the American dream. And
Yeah,
those
I
are
couldn't
the
agree more.
migrants we need, and that's what
Well,
we're
that also
gonna-
protects the jobs, right?
That's
And
right.
so,
Because we need more. We need more labor. We need more labor force to produce our goods. So therefore, we need a lot of people coming in here, in order to facilitate, so we're self-sufficient as a country.
right. And it seems to me, I'm no politician, but I mean, if you put people to work, if you build bridges, walls, infrastructure, then you're creating jobs. You're
That's right.
improving where you live and where you work, and it seems like that would make perfect sense. I just don't get why
Absolutely.
we're not doing more of that.
Yeah, and additionally, we should have fast transit systems within our cities, so people could travel to and from safely and in a very in a swift way, where it's just we're behind, compared to China and a lot of parts of the world, we're behind.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. And then we seem to get sidetracked with stock markets all over the board. Interest rates are more than double for someone looking for a home loan or
Yeah.
even commercial loan. And now I as a person in the commercial real estate industry, people ask me all the time, what's going to happen? Interest rates stay high. And they don't come back down like a lot of people believe, then you're going to have loans that are going to be maturing and they're going to be rolling and adjusting.
Yeah.
And someone's going to have their mortgage doubled on them. And then you combine that with the fact that the cost of operating the building has
Yeah.
more than doubled. So
Yes.
you look at trash, you look at electricity, you look at water, you look at landscaping, you look at wages for porters in buildings and janitorial people. Everything is up.
That's
And-
right.
And yet rents are not up, right? And so
Right.
how does that then play into
Right.
the commercial real estate world?
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's a struggle. It's not easy, and especially people who've entered, into apartment buildings, within the past 5 years or so.
Oh, there's a coming. I think there's a coming.
Yeah, and then they have their interest rate at 4% or 3%, and then all of a sudden, and they're into the property,
Right.
a lot, and they leveraged,
Well, and now in California, you have rent control, right? So
Yeah.
you even if you wanted to raise the rent, even if you could raise the rent, you cannot raise the rent below a certain level. So in addition to your expenses running away,
Yeah.
your interest rate running
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
you're not able to capitalize on free market.
That's right. How can you survive?
Yeah. So I really think that there's some more challenges ahead. I think whoever's in the White House come into next year has got their work cut out for them.
Yeah.
And certainly a business tactical, practical approach
Yeah.
makes good sense for me, and I think a lot of other folks out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have the cash set aside and for investment, I believe it's a good time to get in, even with the interest rates as high, because you have to keep in mind pricing is coming down
coming
as
down.
well. Yeah,
I think it's got more to go, but yes, it is.
So
now
it's
starting
all
to adjust.
proportionate, really. So what happens is that even if you enter the market, let's say now with a 7% interest rate or what, because I've entered the market on a 7% interest rate on a $2 million loan, I bought the asset for $3.9 million. Once everything corrected itself and the rates dropped down to 4, I refinanced, got in a 4.5 on a commercial, so I made another spread of $10,000 a month on my income, and plus the asset was worth $9 million, and I doubled up on appreciation. So, if you need to live somewhere, all right, and you need a home, the best asset is starting off with a home. You can't go wrong even at 7%. And
the
look
good
out,
news-
look out for the deals. Look out for properties that are sitting on the market, because there may be a lot of room for negotiation as well. So negotiating the deal, number one, okay, getting it to a price point of, you got it for actually for value, 10, 20, 15, whatever that number percent discount, all right? Plus, you're paying, a little bit more on your interest rate, but, in time, it'll drop, and then your asset will double, or maybe time and a half more.
Yeah. And we've talked about it on other shows before. If you're in it for the long haul,
that's right.
Then it doesn't matter as much what the interest rates are today. But the fact of the matter is, if the property doesn't cash flow, it's a problem.
Right.
So
no, that is true.
And if you have a seller who's holding on to yesterday's dollar, who still would like what it was and not what it is, then therein lies the disconnect between buyer and seller.
Yeah.
And then now you have, which you didn't have for years, is you have the seller has some legs, right? They have some ability to negotiate, whereas before I had to pay more than the asking price, or I had to pay the full asking price, or I had to do things as a buyer that I just wouldn't normally do, put down bigger deposits, waive contingencies, these types of things. And now it's back to a more normalized market, which we've talked about before, which is if I sell my house and I pick a number, I ask $1, and then somebody comes in and offers me 90 cents, and then we settle on 95 cents. That's kind of normal. It's not where I ask $1 and then you offer me $1 and I go, wait a minute, I want $1.20. Right. And I got 20 other guys behind me. That doesn't exist anymore.
No.
And that quickly went away.
Right.
And so now you get back to some basics. And I guess that sort of leads me into sort of my final sort of chapter of what we have time for today is you're big on the philanthropy side of things, right? We were talking about before we got on air, big with children, big with disabilities, very active in the charitable community, as am I. And so I appreciate that for all the people that you help. We were talking about setting up an adjunct to your foundation where you would teach young people how to have ownership, how to invest, and sort of the basics of I'm going to call it real estate 101, right?
Yes.
So that people understand what it is, because a lot of people don't know.
Right.
Right. And they don't teach that in school.
That's right. So teaching them stuff that they don't teach in school is very important. Getting them ready for the future. Getting them ready once they graduate, high school. Knowing the fact as to where their talents are, or where they want to go, what subject, what are they good at. They may be handy, not necessarily you have to sit maybe they can't sit in a classroom in a seat. So you got to utilize their talents in the areas and the subjects that is needed. Okay, I believe we also have to take IQ tests at age 5 years old. We have to have IQ tests on every child out there. So what if this child is IQ is so high? What are we're wasting our time? You know, he should be or she should be somewhere where maybe in SpaceX or I don't know where. And the same notion goes for a child that is a little behind. So how do we get that child, an above average type of situation? What do we do? What we have to understand it, and it's a parent and it's the teachers and the philanthropist's job to identify that.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I always thought in high school they should teach a class on why you need credit, on how you buy a house.
That's
what happens when you write a check? Does the piece of paper just turn into money? And how does that really work?
No, right.
And in today's world, everything is now contactless. With a credit card, you just touch the machine and boom, I get to buy something.
That's right.
I don't think young people really fully understand.
That's right. And just like you said, what we do is we teach them how to earn, how to save, how to invest, and then we also are focused on affordable housing. So I'm thinking of getting plots of land, and subsidizing them or parcelizing them with utilities, wastewater, electricity, drop modules, 800 square foot in the rear there. And then they're in home ownership, $150,000 to $250,000. And we have the programs for them to enter and get the loans. But again, we teach them at a young age how to obtain credit, the most impeccable credit, to preserve it, and how to save, how to earn, how to save. And what I'm thinking too is to send them to work at age 14, part-time, tally in 4 hours a day, not a day, 4 hours a week, let's just say. Now, the vendor or the person they're working with wires the money over to their account. It's locked up till age 18. They have accumulation of money. They practice their skills, communication skills, exchanging money. And that's very important. That's part of the whole ingredient here. And interacting with people, eye to eye. Yeah. And learning the intricacies of that, and that basically at the end of the day, they already know their talents, what they're doing. They're already challenging. They already have money obtained. They're into home ownership.
Yeah, I mean,
off the gate.
If it was a class, I think they'd call it Tools of Life. Right. Or something to
No,
that
because
effect.
there's so many people out there that have student loans, and they owe student loans out there because, they're inferring you have to continue your education, Without continuing your education, you will not succeed, and that's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. I'm an example of it.
And there's street smart, and there's book smart. And if you can have both, you're ahead of the game. But if you can't have both, you need to find something that you're good at and be able to take advantage of.
That's right.
So we've only got a minute left. I told you when we started it would go quick. I could go with you all day. I got tons of other stuff to ask you, and I'm happy to have you come back on the show. And regardless of how it goes, but if you're in the White House, you invite me, I'll come and have lunch with you.
Thank you so very much.
But I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your thoughts and on the real estate side of things, and also on the political side of things. And certainly wish you and your family and your campaign all the best and continued success. And Barak Zilberberg, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to have this discussion with you. I enjoyed my discussion. It was great. And you're a very, very savvy and intelligent human being, let me tell you.
Yeah, my mother tells me that all the time. So it's good. You're in good company. So on a final note, how can people reach you? How can they find you in terms of your website for your campaign?
Okay, yeah, it's just simple. My name, Barak Zilberberg. I know it's a tongue twister, not easy, but yeah, BarakZilberberg. All my platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, any interests, go on to Google, search me up. Just my name. Excellent. First and last.
Perfect. I wish you much success and all the best with the upcoming campaign. Barak Zilberberg, businessman, philanthropist, candidate for President of the United States. Thanks for being on. I'm Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company. Thanks to everybody here at OC Talk Radio for putting on the show, and we'll see you back here next week on Let's Talk Real Estate. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, there you have it. You've been listening to Let's Talk Real Estate, your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current state of the real commercial real estate market right here in Southern California. On Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studio here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.